The dawning of a new era in CSB sports.
We're so awesome that even our school wants us. You got to come on here. AllNoiseRadio.com, baby. We need your support. We appreciate your support. Look forward to our show every week.
Bringing you a wide variety of topics in the world of sports.
Hockey.
I like the new icing rules as well. A great move by the NHL doing that.
You know, the Penguins still have all that talent. Their goaltending kills them.
Basketball.
If they get that Eastern Conference #1 seed and everything's got to go through Conseco Fieldhouse, I think it's going to be tough to knock them off.
The Miami Heat are the two-time defending champions, but I think their road's going to be very hard to get back to the finals for the 4th straight year.
Baseball.
Money's not an issue for Derek Jeter. Money's not an issue for Alex Rodriguez. Money's not an issue for Sabathia. Money's not an issue for Mark Teixeira, but Robinson Cano, ooh, not our best player. Can't pay him. I don't like calls like this. This is ridiculous. It's bad for baseball, but you know what? Bud Selig's bad for baseball. Ruggies, they essentially let their best player walk for a far inferior ball player in Jacoby Ellsbury.
Football.
There's so many weapons on Denver. He's got an embarrassment of riches as far as targets to throw to. 6 goal-to-go plays in the first half and no passes into the end zone.
Come on. The most amazing stat that I saw is Dallas' defense. They forced 4 turnovers and still lost the game.
Get ready.
We work hard. We love sports.
The knowledge.
I just want to make you look bad, Ruggs, because you always make me look bad with your sports intellect.
The passion.
Hey, Jimmy, you're going to be the best-looking guy in the unemployment line, buddy. What a disgrace.
It's the Zuki and Ruggs Show on All Noise Radio.
Live from the CSB studios in Stratford, Connecticut, it's the Zuki and Ruggs Show, bringing you a wide variety of topics in the world of sports. I'm Ruggs, and I'm here, as always, with my wonderful partner, Zuki, to talk about sports, and we're going to kick it right off. Zook, how about this? Hockey's going to get top billing tonight. What do you think?
Whoop, whoop. It's about damn time, man.
Yeah.
That's our favorite sport, no doubt about it.
Local flavor involved this time now that we get to the conference finals, and it's not the Bruins. It's the New York Rangers.
Ooh, the Rangers of New York.
I'll tell you, my pick's not so bad, but the Bruins, I missed the boat on that one.
Well, I think a lot of people did, Ruggs. You can't really kick yourself in the ass for that one. Montreal was a tough team. We knew going into that series between Montreal and Boston, it was going to be probably a 7-game series, and it ended up being so. I picked Boston in 7. It got to 7, but the other team won. Kudos to Montreal, powered by New Canaan's own Max Pacioretty.
He had a big game.
He sure did.
Big series, but
and as did Carey Price. And speaking of Carey Price, for the Montreal Canadiens, they lose him for the entire. They say the series, but I'm thinking it's the whole playoffs now. I don't know. You know, they're saying it's the series.
Might be the same thing the way it looked in Game 1.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But so big blow for the Montreal Canadiens in Game 1 on losing their goalie. You know, I didn't like. If you listened to the show last week, I think I pretty much said Carey Price can kind of be an enigma anyway. But now you lose him completely.
Yeah, that's big,
and that's a huge loss for the Montreal Canadiens. And the Rangers right now, they're rolling. Last time we were on here, we were previewing Game 7, and we know what happened. Ruggs did a great job previewing Game 7 on his own. I was stuck in traffic, but and the Rangers did complete the 3-1 comeback, and they won the series, Ruggs, in impressive fashion. Hey, man, we saw it on Saturday. The Rangers kicked some ass on Saturday with a 7-2 victory over Montreal.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts?
did.
What are your thoughts about that? Let's think about it. This series, let's look at it this way. As a whole, what did you think about it before the Price injury?
Before the Price, I still like the Rangers. I know everyone's going to say, yeah, sure you did.
Yeah.
But I like the Rangers going in. The way they're playing between the blue lines is unbelievable right now. They're just churning people up. They're dominating the center zone. I just don't see Montreal, the way they play, being able to get up inside of them the way they did the Bruins. Because I think Char did not have a good series for Boston.
He didn't.
And, I wasn't impressed. I didn't think Lucic played that well. I mean, the big guys that Bruins had that plugged those gaps and could have stopped Montreal from gaining zone access so easily, I thought just did not play well enough. I don't expect that here from the Rangers. I think their guys will do a much better job. And like we said, and we'll back it up. I'll back it up one step. When you get to Game 7s, it comes down to the goaltending and who's on, and you like your chances going in with Lundqvist going into a game like that, and that's, to me, that was the difference in that Penguins game, because there was a barrage in that third period. Everything was going on. I mean, even sticks that weren't even held by anybody were taking shots at him in that third period.
Right.
The floating stick on the ice that almost deflected in. He stopped everything, and Price got in a zone similar to that in the Bruins Game 7. I don't think they got the pressure on him the way the Penguins did against Lundqvist, so it wasn't quite the same test. But when you get to a Game 7, you really take a lot of chances putting it. Even though the Bruins had such a great season and looked like the team, maybe, if not in the East, but in entire NHL, that was the most resilient, the toughest team, the team that maybe was going to pull out the Stanley Cup. It didn't happen in one game series, basically.
They were the odds-on favorite. They were the Vegas odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup, Boston. Yeah, I'm a little surprised they didn't win the East, to be honest with you. A little bit. Not like shocked.
Yeah, because in hockey, it's not the same as some other sports. There's just so much. It's a competition.
Exactly.
So fierce. But just to back up to the Rangers, I went a little off topic there, but I just wanted to throw that in before we forgot about the Bruins for the season. I really did like the Rangers coming into the series. Obviously, it makes you even more confident that they'll win. Montreal still got it. They still have tricks up their sleeve. They're still a talented team with a lot of young players. It's not going to be a walkover by any means, but you go with the experience of Lundqvist and that goaltending to back up this kind of young core. Plus, they added some key pieces along the way, some veteran guys. They have a nice mix right now, and they're just playing almost with a little air of destiny about them. It's 20 years ago since 94.
That's right.
Who knows?
Well, I tell you, one guy that's been the spark plug, and it's a guy that Montreal's going to go after tonight. That's Chris Kreider. I think this Ranger rally is all because of him. He scored that big goal in Game 5 against Pittsburgh, the power play goal to get him on the board, and the Rangers haven't looked back since. He's been scoring big goals since he's been back in the lineup. Great move by the Rangers to get him back in there. Good thing he came back, and he's been huge for them. And I know Montreal is going to try to go after him, and no, it's not a big wonder. It's not a big mystery as to why they're going to do that. He's the Rangers spark plug. They know it. Everyone around the league knows it, and they're going to try to go after him tonight. And I hope the young man beats up anybody who tries to go after him. And I think the Price play. Listen, it's all a matter of gamesmanship by Montreal. I think they know, and everyone else knows, that was a clean play. It was an accident.
Very similar to Subban's play in the Boston series, and
exactly.
they attested to the same thing. So I mean, you can't have it both ways.
Exactly.
You gotta live with it. That's hockey.
It happens. It happens. And Kreider didn't mean to do that. It wasn't intentional. But of course, Montreal. Listen, they're not going to come out and. Well, first of all, they did come out and say it. Now they changed their tune because that's hockey. You're gonna try to change momentum, and they're gonna go after the young kid, the hot player, and try to rattle his cage and turn momentum onto their side. And hey, that's hockey. That's what you do, and we'll see what happens.
They were embarrassed in Game 1 on their home ice. You expect them to try to change up whatever they can.
Sure. Get the crowd into it, all of that. And we'll see who takes goal. I think it's going to be Budaj or the young kid. I heard they're going to call up. I think it's still pending. I got to see who the goalie for Montreal is going to
start tonight. That's a good question, Zuki, because that's a big decision. I mean, the series could be in the balance tonight for Montreal. They can't go down 2-0.
Yeah, but I'm with you, Ruggs. I like the Rangers before the series started anyway. Now without Carey Price in there, I still like the Rangers, especially they have to go to a young kid who just won the Calder. I forgot his name. His name escapes me, but he won. I think he led Montreal's AHL team to the Calder Cup 2 years ago. Forgot his name, but nevertheless, I mean, you bring a young kid like that into the Eastern Conference Finals. Come on, I know he's got big game experience in the AHL, but come on,
it's a little different.
That's a lot to ask. Yeah,
it is a lot to ask.
I like the Rangers. We'll see what happens. Hopefully they keep this going. Hopefully they're on their way to the Stanley Cup Finals. And we'll be, partying here around this area. It'd be nice to see a local team doing something, considering that the Mets stink and the Knicks stink, and the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, were jettisoned by Miami in 5 games. So much for that being a nice series. Guess LeBron didn't want to hear any of that. So it'll be good for one New York team to be really good. The Yankees are still good right now. They're in first place, so that's good too, but it's still early.
A lot of injuries to overcome there.
They've got a lot of injuries, but Teixeira's playing real well. On a side note, Mark Teixeira looks like he's back. But nevertheless, so it'd be good for New York to see the Rangers come out of the East. I think they will.
I think they will.
I think they're going to do it. I think we're going to have the Rangers win the East. And just switching back to the West real quick, we got time. Yeah, definitely talk about the West. Chicago hopped on board and took the first game from L.A. Hey, that's Chicago. They're just a hell of a team.
I really like them in this series, too. I mean, L.A. is about as good a competition as they're going to get out in the West, but I still think that Chicago...
They're the team to beat, man. They're the team to beat. They're so
I liked them even. Yeah. I actually was going to, if I thought it was going to be them and Boston in the Stanley Cup final, and I was going to pick Chicago to win that series. So I feel even a little bit better about things now with Boston out of there. But, LA played okay in game 1. They didn't generate enough scoring chances. They did outshoot the Blackhawks in game 1. I thought Quick was average. He didn't have one of his better games. He wasn't awful. I mean, he kept him in it, but they need to find a way to generate more good scoring chances, not just throw shots on the net and hope they go in. That's kind of what they seem to do in game 1.
That's what LA tends to do sometimes, Ruggs, when they when they face a tough defense. They sometimes take some shots. They don't have really... Chicago's very physical. They got a lot of big defensemen.
Yes. And
they can really control the blue line, and it's really hard sometimes to, gain entry into the zone. Sometimes you really have to really out-physical them, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a battle of, you really have to be physical with Chicago. If you think you're going to, dance around them or, you really have to go at them. There's no real way about it. That's why they're so good, because they're so physical and their defensemen are so active. They can come in. They're such great two-way players on defense. They're just a well-balanced. They're just a well-balanced team. It's really tough for any team to beat this team. Minnesota gave them a decent fight, but
they're the one team that hasn't really needed that kind of Game 7 magic. To get a little bit of a break to get through. They're taking care of business.
They sure are.
Fairly fairly business-like. They're getting rid of teams in 6. They're not having easy series by any means, but they're getting the job done. They're looking to be just have that little bit of separation from the rest of the pack.
Yeah,
and could be celebrating another Stanley Cup title, and
it's certainly looking that way.
Chi-town.
Yeah, Chicago, home of the Stanley Cup champions, and I really think that Chicago is going to win the Western Conference here again. I love LA. They got a nice team. The LA Kings, they really do have a great team, but unfortunately for them, they just don't match up very well against Chicago.
No.
I don't think they don't have enough physicality. Goaltending, I like Jonathan Quick, more than Corey Crawford, but like I said a few weeks ago, Corey Crawford is a very underrated goaltender.
Yes.
He can make some huge saves. He is not along for the ride. The Blackhawks won that Stanley Cup last year because of Corey Crawford and his contributions, and they're going to do so again. He's a very good young goaltender who gets lost in the shuffle, and for good reason. When you're playing with 7 All-Stars,
sure,
you get lost in the shuffle, but he's a tremendous goalie. He's no pretender. He's not there. Like I said, he's no observer. He's not there spectating. He's making big saves, and he's playing well, and he's beaten some good teams, and he's outplayed some good goaltenders. And we'll see if he can outplay Jonathan Quick here. And then, according to our predictions, let's see if he can outplay Henrik Lundqvist in the Stanley Cup Finals. And Ruggs, my thing is this, Ruggs, Gary Bettman Ruggs, he's got to love the notion or the possibility of a Chicago, New York Stanley Cup Final. Bro, wow. Tell me how great that would be for the league, huh? New York, Chicago in the Stanley Cup Finals.
2 big markets, really.
Woo!
I mean, LA's a big market too, but I think
yes, it is. It is
with the original 6 in there, that makes a big difference.
Chicago's a hockey city.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to bash LA. They were great 2 years ago when the Kings won the cup. They were into it, and LA's a huge city, and they're a great sports city. So LA's definitely a huge market, but I mean in terms of like a hockey market.
Yeah, they go in waves. It's like anything else in LA. It's what's hot at the moment because
right.
we remember the Gretzky days, how the town was taken over by the Kings, and then kind of just was gone like that.
Right.
Once he left,
once he got traded to
it was
the Blues.
Hockey ghost town again, and then it's back, like you said, with the series against the Devils winning the Stanley Cup. It was the in thing, and everybody was on board for the ride. And now you got to see what happens after. I mean, they're still in that carryover effect. This is still this same core team that won that Stanley Cup. So we're not, they haven't jumped off the bandwagon by any means. The team's still winning, but we got to see how this is able to carry on, where you can take any season the Blackhawks are involved in the playoffs or the Stanley Cup, and you're going to have that same kind of enthusiasm and passion from the crowd.
Oh, the crowd's into it in Chicago. Yeah, I've been there, and we can see it on TV. Yeah, the crowd's really into it in Chicago. But, yeah, we'll see what happens there, Ruggs.
Plus, you'll get two like you said, two teams that will try to out-physical each other.
They are physical. It'll be a great series.
Yeah,
that would be a tremendous series. But I'm excited for the Rangers, Ruggs. I really am excited for the Rangers, man. Let's see if they can do this thing. It'd be great for the city of New York. It'd be great for the sport too, to get New York in there and have a New York team in the final. I mean, with all due respect, no offense to Montreal. Hey, I mean, you want to talk about hockey?
Yeah, that's.
I mean,
they're the Green Bay of.
Yes, that's a capital of hockey.
Yep.
So. And I don't mean any disrespect to Montreal at all when I say that. I mean in America when I talk about ratings and market. I'm sure the ratings in TSN and Canada and Montreal would do very, very well. So when I say ratings, if any Canadians are listening or anybody thinks I'm ignorant for not mentioning Montreal as a huge market, I'm sorry. I know how big of a market Montreal is. I know that Montreal they are the New York Yankees of hockey, if you will. So I'm well aware of that too. So anyway, honestly, any way you look at it, they are 4 huge markets. But I just think in America, New York, Chicago is pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree totally. And like you said, just to piggyback your point about Corey Crawford, I can't think of one game. Maybe you can name me one in this postseason where he's really had a poor game. Really, any of the goalies, Lundqvist included, have had a game here or a game there where they did not play well, and people were questioning. I know, I believe it was Game 3, but it could have been in Game 4 against Pittsburgh where Lundqvist just seemed a little off. Game 3.
Oh, was it? No, wait.
It may have been
4.
3.
4. I think it was 4.
I mean, they lost both games, but there was one game when he just seemed like he was a little off and gave up some soft goals.
Yeah, he did.
Crawford, all the games he's lost, they've either been overtime thrillers or one-goal games and very low-scoring games.
Right.
It's not. He's played well in every game. He's really the one. Even Quick has had a couple of games where he didn't look that great against the Sharks.
Quick's been pulled.
Crawford's the one guy that's really been the most consistent, if you will, out of the guys that are left. So
I agree, Ruggs. Absolutely. I agree. Well said, pal. And just a side note, guys, I did look it up. It according to Puck Daddy, I don't know. I think it's a pretty accurate source. Dustin Tokarski will start Game 2. That is the young man who was on the Montreal's AHL team and helped them. Norfolk. He played in Norfolk and helped them win the Calder Cup in 2012. So they're going to roll the dice and go with the young man here and hope maybe he's like Patrick Waugh.
I do. I like the move because you're not winning anything with.
Very reminiscent of Patrick Waugh in '86, and Montreal went on to win the Stanley Cup. And Ken Dryden in 1971. They called up a rookie, Kenny Dryden, and Montreal went on to win the Stanley Cup. And, of course, those two guys ended up being two of the greatest goaltenders of all time. No pressure, Dustin Tokarski.
Right.
No pressure. You only have to fill the shoes of Ken Dryden and Patrick Waugh. No pressure.
I like the move. Like I said, though, I don't think you're winning anything with your backup goalie in this spot.
Yeah.
You might as well go for the
I mean, Peter,
lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, Peter Budaj. I mean, he's been a veteran. He's been around. I think he's played in 7 playoff games in his career. But take a shot. You never know. Maybe he got some with this young kid. What the hell? Go for it.
And he's almost he's getting rushed into this so much he almost doesn't have time to have the pressure really build on him.
Yeah, and it's better his first game's home. The crowd's going to be behind him.
Yeah.
And hey, you never know. Maybe they like what they saw from this kid. He's pretty good. So. We'll see. If you're the Rangers, you're either licking your lips or you're wondering what you got here. But you got to like the matchup if you're the Rangers.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens tonight. But let's be honest. If the Rangers win this game, they're well on their way. And you got to like the Rangers tonight. I mean, with this young kid in goal, I mean, it's hard for me to believe he's Waugh and he's Dryden and he's going to come out here and be those guys and win a game here and then carry Montreal into his back and win a Stanley Cup. That would be one hell of a story. So
really would.
Hard for me to believe, but we'll see what happens.
All right, we're going to go to a break here on All Noise Radio. When we come back, we're going to get into the horse racing here while Zuki steps out for a minute. He's big stars get their breaks in their trailer.
That's right. Hey, you tackle the horses, Ruggs. I got no time for that.
Mr. Ed, he is not. So I'm going to lay down what happened Saturday at Pimlico during the Preakness.
I'm going to take a nap with some nasal strips over here, if you don't mind.
We'll talk about the nasal strip controversy for California Chrome and why, maybe Neil Smith would be proud because nasal strips have won, baby. He's approved. He'll be going for the Triple Crown, which, let's face it, if you're not gambling, it's the only reason you're watching horse racing probably in the first place is to see a Triple Crown. So I'm going to tackle that in our next segment after the break. We'll be back on All Noise Radio.
Peace.
Do you hate your GPS? Of course you do. That's the point. They're emasculating, but are they really emasculating enough? Well, they are now.
Oh, sure, take this route. Why don't you just ask them to steal our hubcaps, you dummy?
Introducing the Navigational Annoyance Guidance System, a.k.a. NAG.
Hey, eyes on the road. We don't want to die.
With NAGs, you'll be so irritated you'll have no choice but to follow the right road. Order now and get the maternal sound-alike chip absolutely free.
I can't believe I gave birth to such an idiot.
NAGs.
Order now, damn it.
Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Awesome.
You see it every day. They come to the store in their pajamas. They have everything they need for their big night in. They have 20 items and get into the 12 items or fewer checkout. They need help. The I Can't Add helpline will help you, help them, determine how many items they can take to the checkout. Our organization will provide them with a 6-year-old that will help them with the math. All calls are anonymous. Please help them now. Call 1-800-ICA-HELP or visit 2plus2is5.org.
Do you have an annoying superhero in your city?
Here I come to save the day.
Does he wear his underwear on the outside and tie a stupid cape around his neck?
Does he undermine your local police department and your fellow cartel?
Does he try to fight with 50-volt beams of light?
Tired of paying for those crime-fighting damages?
Then Luthor Corps is here to destroy.
We have everything you need, from kryptonite in bulk for $99.99 a 50-pound tub, giant cans of Spidey Be Gone that eliminates large webs in seconds, and copies of Galactic Espionage for Dummies.
And of course, your favorite villains can help for $59.99 an hour. They're often evilishly late, have a rude demeanor, and if you don't pay them overtime, they may take your firstborn child. But hey, you get what evil you pay for.
But they always get the message.
It's simple. Kill the Batman.
Visit us at www.luthertakesthemdown.com or 666 Death Star Mine, space.
Can Spider-Man come out to play?
Back on the Zuki and Ruggs Show. We're going to get into a little horse racing here with the upcoming Belmont Stakes, the third jewel in the Triple Crown, on the line June 7th. California Chrome has a chance to make history. Has not been done since Secretariat in 1978. After winning the Preakness this past weekend, he's 2 for 2. Got a little bit of good news from the New York Racing Board. is going to be allowed to wear his nasal strips. You know, you think of Neil Smith rushing a passer back with the Chiefs. Was nothing without his nasal strips when he would play, but in all seriousness, a very serious issue, especially at Belmont, which is a grueling course. The 1.5 miles really makes a difference. That extra at the, coming down the home stretch kills a lot of horses. A lot of champions have died in that home stretch at the Belmont. And this time, California Chrome is, he won the appeal. He got his clearance to wear the nasal strips, which help him get oxygen in through his nose, makes it a little easier, keeps a little wind for that home stretch, that little extra push. His trainer was very adamant that he'd be allowed to wear it. He was really seriously considered pulling him because he didn't want anything to happen to the horse if he couldn't win. He's got some, problems, as a lot of us do with nasal breathing and passage blockage and stuff. So, that's a big win for him, being able to do that. There was another Triple Crown possible horse a couple years back called I'll Have Another, who was very similar, wore the nasal strips. It's allowed at Churchill Downs. It's allowed in Pimlico, but in the state of New York, they do not have that allowance on the books for any equipment that's not on their pre-registered list, and nasal strips are not on that list, so they had to have a special hearing to allow him to be cleared for that. I'll Have Another. It didn't end up mattering. He had the leg injury, withdrew with a chance for the Triple Crown, was not able to compete, which, was a big bummer. I believe it was 2 years ago. But we won't have to worry about that with California Chrome. He's cleared to run. He's got a real shot at this. He's not winning these races by a nose or waiting to the end to try to make a run, and you worry about him running out of gas at the Belmont, even though this racetrack just kills a lot of champions who think they're going to get the Triple Crown coming in and just cannot withstand the pounding, and horses who don't have as much speed and are able to better adapt to the longer course and can really, run the horse down in the home stretch. California Chrome's got a real shot at this because he doesn't rely on that. He's able to kind of stalk the group in front of him and make his move. As long as he doesn't make his move too early, as long as Castellano keeps the game plan he's been using, riding him, very good chance you could see history Saturday, June 7th at the Belmont Stakes. Going back to the Preakness that just happened, again, pretty much identical, almost the blueprint from Churchill Downs and the Kentucky Derby. Rode in that second main pack, around the third, fourth, fifth position. Kind of got his sights in on the leader. Didn't run too hard, not too fast of a pace. Was able to withstand all these early speed horses that were supposedly going to give him some problems and force him to up the pace a little. Really never happened. He was able to, just make his move right coming around the final, the final quarter pole, coming into the home stretch. And when he goes, he goes. You could just tell it's different than any of the other horses out there. He has that gear which you need at Belmont to be able to flip into, to be able to put the distance you're going to need to hold off a charge coming, because that's what happens at Belmont. It happened with Smarty Jones back in 2005. He got run down from behind because, he may have made his move too early. He got tracked down with about 1/8 of a mile to go, and what looked like for a minute everybody in the place was excited about the Triple Crown possibly happening. It did not. And California Chrome has to avoid that, making the move too early. But he certainly has the pedigree and the talent to do it. He's got the jockey who's got the race plan. He's got the trainer and the owner who believe in him and are letting him go here. It's a good move. It's controversial because this hasn't been allowed before with the nasal strip thing I'm talking about. And people will make a mention of that, of course, if he does win. But something like that, if it's allowed everywhere else, I don't see an issue with it. You like to see, you certainly wouldn't have wanted to see him pull out over that. It would have been to the detriment of the sport. I mean, this sport is really fueled by gambling. Everybody knows it. It's run through, the sports books, and there is also, though, a purist view of it. There's a lot of people that watch it just to actually watch the races and are very interested. While there still is a Triple Crown possibility, I've watched horse racing for many, many years. Very rarely do I actually bet on them. So you can watch horse racing and be interested, especially when there's a Triple Crown possibility, and you still have it, and that's that's exciting because 1978 is a long time ago, and Secretariat was one of those horses that was just in its own class, never has not been seen since. Did not just blew the field away, and California Chrome has that kind of air about him. Doesn't have the huge wins, the 12, 13 length wins in these big races. And, the field strength has been questioned. There hasn't been any super opposition to him in these two races. It's going to be a little different perhaps at Belmont because a lot of horses did not run the Preakness to take rest and prepare to make a real challenge at him, which can be almost a little unfair. You have to, run every race as California Chrome, and you get horses that almost have a bye coming into this week, this June 7th Belmont Stakes with extra rest. It's going to amount to almost 5 weeks of rest, which a lot of people think that the stakes races, the Triple Crown races, are too close together anyway, and that there should be more of a space in between them to allow the horses to rest properly, so you don't have perhaps some injuries that may not have happened, or you have horses that have to pull out of these races because you'll see horses that only run the Kentucky Derby, you don't see them again, or they run the Derby, you're going to see them miss the Preakness, and then they come back. You're going to see horses that just run the Belmont, and where were they the whole season? Kind of a weird thing. It's a little different than what you're used to in other sports, whether individual sports or team sports. You don't see, with like a pro golfer, you don't see him miss the whole season and only duck in for an event here or event there. If he's at the top of his game, you might see that with somebody in their twilight years, or a rookie who's trying to break onto the scene may only play an event here and an event there. It's a little different in horse racing where, this is the prime, this 3-year-old season, this is where they're going to make all their hay. They're either going to have a career doing this going forward, or it's going to end, or they're going so there's nobody sitting out the 3-year-old season to wait for future devs. You got to make your money now. This is the racing year. 3-year-olds is the pivotal year of a horse's life as far as a racing horse, and the level of competition has been questioned. We don't know whether or not you're getting the best horse each time racing against California Chrome in these races. You don't know how the field looked. It certainly looked like it was a lot stronger at Churchill Downs than it did Saturday at Pimlico, but there was still a couple of horses that had won some big-time races and were highly competitive and thought to have a chance to at least hold tight, and it didn't materialize. It was pretty well in hand. By 3/4 of the way through the race, you kind of saw it coming. You did see a late charge by Ride On Curlin, who did also run at Churchill Downs. You might see him go at Belmont. A lot of people think, though, he's probably not going to. I'd like to see him there because he really was the only horse that made any kind of run at California Chrome. If that's Belmont, that extra distance he's got coming down the home stretch could have really been telling there. It may have forced California Chrome to pick up his pace, which, I believe he could have done. A lot of horses you are going to be able to run down. I don't know that California Chrome couldn't have flipped it into another gear if he had been instructed to do so by his jockey, had been prodded. I believe that because it didn't look like Castellano was going to the whip at all down the stretch, and it looked like he really coasted in both times, particularly, though, this race Saturday at the Preakness. So, very interesting whenever you got a Triple Crown candidate. Nothing like going to the Big Apple to run the race too at Belmont. It's going to be, you had 120,000 people at Pimlico Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised if you can add another 20 or 30,000 of that for Belmont Saturday coming up June 7th. I think it'll be insane there. Outside in the picnic area, it'll be mobbed. You would hardly be able to move out there. I've been there in the past, and it's a crazy atmosphere there. The grandstands will be packed. It'll be standing room only in there, and it's going to make for a real exciting race. And it has not been good for the bettors though. California Chrome, such a prohibitive favorite that it does make the betting money a little low. It's hard to really win big money with a horse that's so dominant, but it makes you have to play those exotic bets and try to win your money the other way. It kind of forces maybe a little more action into the game. You have to be a little more creative, which is interesting for some people like to play that way and bet that way, but it tends to favor the more serious gambler, the more in-tuned horse enthusiast, somebody who follows it a little more closely, the insider, so to speak, and not so much the day players, the prospectors, the guys who just are out there throwing money around, taking a shot. But anyway, look forward to that coming up as we're going to go to a break here. We'll be back on All Noise Radio.
Will you be ready for the start of opening day? For over a century, they have taken the field to do battle for the right to be called champion. Stories of athletic feats, memorable moments, and fantastic victories have been seen by the chosen. It will soon be time to add another chapter to their long history of tradition. So get off the couch and experience with family and friends the power of the pinstripe. Visit NewYorkYankees.com and get your 2013 New York Yankee regular season tickets today.
Has this ever happened to you?
Flop the nut straight.
And then you felt like this?
All night, he he trapped me!
Are you thousands of dollars in debt? Have you ever bet on the Puppy Bowl?
Are you in too deep but have no intention of stopping?
Who are you going to call?
Gambling Enablers Anonymous. Witness protection for gamblers. Gamblers.
Some people may say you have an addiction to gambling, but we here at
Gambling Enablers Anonymous
believe you have every right to continue your hobby. We will provide you with a new identity to help you hide from those pesky IRS agents and loan sharks.
We also provide relocation services based on your preferred betting venues. Just listen to our satisfied customers.
I'm Steve Croft.
I'm Leslie Stahl.
I'm Bob Simon.
I'm Batman.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
So before you end up or call us.
Gambling Enablers Anonymous. Witness protection for gamblers.
This is obviously not a real service, and if you thought it was, you are a total moron. Gambling Enablers Anonymous holds no legal responsibility for any dumb decisions you make, especially based on this commercial. Gambling is a risk, and if you consider calling us, we would advise you to seek psychiatric evaluation.
All Noise Radio.
Yo. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
If you're lost, follow us.
Back on the Zuki and Ruggs Show, and my partner will rejoin us now.
Oh, God. I'm wiping the drool off my mouth from that horse segment. Jeez Louise. God, horses. Who cares about horses, Ruggs? Jeez.
So you don't think that Secretariat should have been one of the 100 all-time greatest athletes? Remember when they did that? That caused a big stir.
Yeah, excuse me while I puke. Where's Phil Mushnick when you need him? Did he actually think Secretariat should have been, or he didn't like it? I forgot what Mushnick's stance was.
I don't remember.
I remember Mushnick said something.
He did. I think he was against it.
I think he was against it. I think Francesa was for it. I forgot what it was in New York. But anyway, no, good segment, partner there.
Thank you, brother.
We'll see if Chrome can do it. I hope he does. It'll be pretty nice to see. But
what were you doing in '78? You weren't even a twinkle in anyone's eye yet, were you? You weren't even born.
Wasn't even a thought.
I was 2.5 when that happened.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's cool. I think personally, though, I think Secretariat should have been on the top 100 list. I really do.
Yeah, I had no problem with it at the time. I think
so. I think
it was just for the achievement.
Absolutely.
Nothing else.
Absolutely.
He's doing all the work out there. I know the jockey's got to mastermind the whole thing, but
still the greatest horse that ever raced, in my opinion. So, yeah, definitely deserved to be on there. Anyway, wake up, listeners!
Here.
Wake up, listeners! Wake up!
That's right.
Time to talk about the NBA.
Now, they were glued to that segment, riveted buddy. They were riveted by that segment and the way I broke it down.
You did a great job. You did a great job, partner. I'm just kidding with you. But getting to the NBA playoffs here, Ruggs. Game 1 tonight in the Western Conference between the San Antonio Spurs and the Oklahoma City Thunder. No big surprise here. I think many people thought they were the two best teams in the West, and they are.
The superpowers of the West collide. You're right.
Absolutely, brother. But a couple stories here coming into Game 1. The biggest one being Serge Ibaka. The Oklahoma City Thunder came out last night and announced that he will miss the remainder of the playoffs with a calf injury. Big blow for the Thunder, but that wasn't even the biggest story. As soon as that story was, made to marinate, if you will, here come the San Antonio Spurs to say, we ain't buying it.
Crying foul.
Yeah, they sure are. They're saying, hey, if you're playing possum, we're ready for you. And looks like the Spurs are they're fully anticipating Serge Ibaka playing. I don't believe he will. I don't know what to make of it, Ruggs. I'm kind of befuddled, to be honest with you. I don't know if Ibaka's going to play, if he's going to take a game off, if the Thunder are really trying to throw the Spurs a curveball. Why would you, though? I don't know what to believe. What do you think, Ruggs? You think the Thunder are trying to catch the Spurs napping here, or you think he's legitimately hurt?
I mean, to me, he looked legitimately injured. It's tough to say, but I thought on the other side, we got Tony Parker, who looked legitimately injured, and he is going to give it a go, as last reports have stated that he's going to play tonight. So you just never know with these guys.
Oh, you think maybe it's like a little bit of a deflection? You think the Spurs are deflecting, bro, on the Thunder?
Possibly, and maybe it's gamesmanship.
Uh-huh.
It's different, though. You got a big man, calf injury like that. He's got to go in the air to contest shots and be down low rebounding. A little bit more of a nuisance, that kind of injury, than it would be perhaps for a guard who's playing away from the basket. So you don't know if that weighs in with Ibaka's decision. Now, Parker's deal is a hamstring, which is very, very disconcerting to a guy who relies on at a speed position, as the point guard position is for Tony Parker. That that could be a real hampering of his to be hamstrung, so to speak, and play a pun there.
Yeah, no pun intended.
So these injuries could play major parts in the series. You like the fact, though, that he has been cleared to play, and he's going to give it a go for San Antonio, because I think it's hard to see them winning anything without Tony Parker. He's just been such a playoff stud over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And the glue that holds them together, quite frankly.
Oh, absolutely. He's one of the best point guards in the league, if not the best point guard in the league. And, yeah, the Spurs will not win anything without Tony Parker. That's for sure. I wonder if it is, in fact, deflection on the Spurs' part, if they're trying to distract the Thunder and distract the media, take the attention away from themselves and force the media to, pay more attention to Oklahoma City rather than pay attention to Tony Parker being hurt, which is very possible considering that Greg Popovich is a genius, an evil genius at that.
Yeah, if anybody can play the gamesmanship card and do it well, it would be Pop. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just hope it's a great series. I hope these two injuries don't prohibit that from happening. Hopefully both of these guys can play. Not looking too good for Ibaka, though. I don't know. Why would the Thunder come out and make that announcement and then him come out and play?
Yeah.
If he was healthy, I'm sure they'd be elated and say, yeah, listen, he's playing. Why would they try to, if they're so confident? Listen, the Thunder are a confident group.
Yeah, this isn't a big underdog team that's
right.
trying. This is a team that expects to win when they go out there. So.
Exactly. That's why I smell BS by the Spurs here. I think it's the latter of my theory. I think they're trying to take, they're trying to distract people away from Tony Parker rather than trying to actually believing the fact that Ibaka's really hurt. Come on. That's not. I think it's a joke, but nevertheless, let's just get to the series. Forget the he said, who's hurt, who's not hurt. The guessing game here. We'll all find out, I guess, when at tip off. But looking at this series, I wanted to really be excited for it. But for argument's sake, we don't know yet if Parker is okay, and he is relatively the Tony Parker we're all accustomed to. Should be a great series. Oklahoma City is going to have to rely on guys to step up for Ibaka if he's out for the entire duration of this series. Guys like Nick Collison, guys like that.
I meant to throw that in there, Zook, when you mentioned about it looking bad for Ibaka. I hate the way that puts the position that puts the Thunder in, though, for the series, because that front court is not great without Ibaka in there.
No, it's not.
It really, really becomes thin and a little undermanned, to be honest with you, against that Spurs front court.
Oh, yeah.
And that takes it makes I don't want to say a draw, but it makes a slight advantage for the Spurs, a major advantage, and then it really puts the pressure on the backcourt and obviously Durant, which it's going to be anyway, but it makes his job a lot harder and the key and the focus even that much more on him.
Oh, yeah. Well, now they're going to have to run a lot more ISO stuff, and they're going to just have to – if you think Westbrook and Durant were taking a lot of shots before, wait till now.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens. I like the Spurs before the Ibaka injury. I like the Spurs even more now. I just think the Spurs are the better team. They're deeper. Of course, the best player on the court is Kevin Durant, but that doesn't mean anything. I think, but the best team, always wins, and I think the best team are the Spurs. I think the Spurs go to the NBA Finals again. I love the way they're playing. They just look so cohesive, and it's just amazing. It just seems like every year they're in it, and I think they're going to do it. 2 years ago, Ruggs, I was telling you off the air, a big reason for me picking the Thunder 2 years ago over the Spurs was the fact that the James Harden factor. As we all know, the Thunder no longer have the James Harden factor, and now you take away Serge Ibaka. Geez Louise, too much. And the idea of Nick Collison out there with they're not very good offensively down there. They're going to get pushed around. I mean, they're so bad. I think Thiago Splitter's actually going to have a really good series, and that's scary because Thiago Splitter stinks. So, I mean, Serge Ibaka usually treats Thiago Splitter like a cheap prostitute. So, I just like the Spurs, man. I just think they're going to win it. I think they're going to win the West and go to the NBA Finals again and try to avenge last year's NBA Finals loss, brother. That's the way it looks.
All right, so sometimes they say you got to agree to disagree. I think this time we got to disagree to agree, because I don't agree with your statement that it doesn't matter that Durant's the best player on the floor, and but to come back full circle, and I don't like. I totally believe that the Thunder match up very well with the Spurs, and I would have picked them coming in to this series if you asked me a couple weeks ago, but I'm going to come back and agree with you that I like the Spurs this time. I just think it's one of those things, like I think they've they've matched up against them a couple times and it hasn't gone their way. I just think maybe this is their time to do it, and I think they're going to, like you said, going to avenge this loss that they had to the Thunder in the conference finals 2 years ago when Oklahoma City went up against Miami, and I think they're also going to avenge the finals disappointment of last year and make it right. I think this team that is just like the pillar of consistency in the league and is just always there is going to get paid off with another title here. I just think it's their year. I didn't even pick them in the last round. I picked an upset with Portland. Sometimes you just got to stop picking against fate and destiny here and going with a team. You see it now. The one wild card, I'll say it now, is if Parker ends up down and can't go at all, then that's going to put the advantage right back to the Thunder. But as long as he's the Tony Parker that we're all used to seeing, and indications are that he's going to be okay, I think this is the time that they take it. I think it'll be a long series, though. I don't think it'll be an easy win for the Spurs.
No.
I think there's a lot of pride in the Oklahoma City side of things, and I think Durant will play well, and I think he's good enough to carry them.
Oh, the 3 wins.
Westbrook's got to play well, though.
Yeah, Westbrook's the guy who's very inconsistent. And Durant can get inconsistent too because Westbrook's the point guard. So, I mean, your team only goes as your point guard goes. That's why they're called the quarterback on the court. But yeah, I agree with you. Durant, he's good enough. I use the word good. He's better than good. But I'll just say he's good enough to win 2 games by himself for the Thunder.
Right.
So
he's that X factor.
So in that regard, that's a fair statement, Ruggs. No doubt about it. We all know how great the MVP of the league is. So, I'm looking forward to the series. We'll see what happens. I got the Spurs, and I'll say 7. I say it goes all the way to 7. I think it's going to go all the way to 7, even without Ibaka. I think just like I said, because I'm expecting Durant to win 2 games by himself, and let's just say 1 game Durant and Westbrook kick ass together, and then maybe they get some help from like Ricky Jackson and some other guys, give them some help off the bench, to get some contributors. That often happens in the playoffs.
Yes.
You get one guy come off the bench and he's hot and he carries you to a victory. So that could happen for them as well. Going over to the East.
Just real quick. I'm sorry. I just want to. I'll take the Spurs in 6, just so it's on the record.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I'm sorry, Russ.
I rarely pick series to go 7, even when I think they're gonna, because I think that sounds like sometimes you just all the pundits just say 7 because it's kind of covers all bases. So I'm going to be a little controversial and say 6, but let's go to the East, like you said.
Yeah, going to the East. This is a series I dare you to pick in 6, pal. The Pacers and Heat. I mean, this is a
maybe if the Heat had won the first game, I might have, but
yeah,
no, I don't know.
Right. This is a series I think we all picked. I mean, I did pick Chicago before the season started, but I was being a little homerific there.
You picked Chicago, Houston, and I admired that when you did it because it was going out on a limb. It was not the conventional pick.
Yeah.
And
I was
other than injuries, it would have had a possibility to happen, especially on Chicago's side of things.
Exactly, that's true. And looking at the East, it's a series we've all waited for a year. We all know what happened last year. It went to 7 games. Miami went on to win the Eastern Conference, and then they went on to win the NBA title. I'm loving this series. I'm loving what I saw from the Indiana Pacers on Sunday. They're back. I mean, we saw it happen. We spoke about this last week. America saw this happen. Game 2 against Washington. Something happened. Don't know what. Like I said, it's still a mystery to me. Maybe we'll find out one day.
Roy Hibbert's alive.
Yeah, he's like Frankenstein. I don't know what the heck happened, but he is alive. And that team, when they play like that, when you have that balance from all 5 of your guys, they're tough to beat. And that's what they've missed. But the thing is this, like I said a couple weeks ago, like me and Ruggs said, Paul George needs to step up, take over a game, take over a series. You saw Paul George take over that Washington Wizards series, and he carried that momentum into Game 1 against Miami. And this team really looks like they believe in Paul George as a leader. Roy Hibbert looks like he's regained his confidence. This team looks dangerous. I love what I'm seeing from them. If you're Miami, okay, you didn't play all that great. They still played pretty well, though. If you look at some of the numbers from their guys, Miami didn't play terribly. No. They really didn't. It's just that Indiana played so damn well that the score looks like, oh, Indiana blew them away. But Miami didn't. It's like Miami played awful basketball.
And Wade contributed. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get with him.
And he looked great. It's just that the Pacers looked better. And, good point there, Ruggs. And so we'll see if Indiana can carry this over into Game 2. Miami's going to come out guns a-blazing. These guys don't like losing. It's only their second playoff loss of the postseason. LeBron James is at this stage of his career where losing games really ticks him off. And so we'll see if he can bounce back here and carry his team to a Game 2 victory over the Pacers. Nevertheless, I really like the Pacers to win this series. Ruggs, has that legendary on our opening, montage there. Thank you. Ruggs, of course, said it back in November. Or it was October, actually. It was October. Yeah. If the East has to go through Conseco Fieldhouse, they're going to be really tough to beat. And you're seeing that right now. And in my opinion, I think they're not going to get beat this time. They're the number 1 seed. They're playing their best basketball they've played since February. I think Miami ran into the wrong team at the wrong time, and I think they're going to pick them off. I thought the same way, Ruggs, all year. I thought if the Pacers got the number 1 seed and they played Miami and they got the home court, they were going to do it. And I think, Ruggs, they're going to do it. I think Indiana's going to dethrone Miami and go to the NBA Finals. I really do.
Nice job, brother. Good pick there. You don't hear anybody calling for Frank Vogel's job right now, do you?
That hot seat.
That was 2 weeks or a week and a half.
Oh, my God.
Change things in the sports world.
Good point, Ruggs. I guess Roy Hibbert pulled out the fire extinguisher and said, none of that. No more of that.
Exactly, because I don't think, despite what will go on and happen in the rest of the playoffs there, I think he certainly has secured his position as coach of the Pacers. The team is, rallied around each other and around him, so I think there's no question about him losing the team or anything like that. I love what you said about Paul George taking over that Washington series and carrying that momentum over. He had 18 points in the second half of Game 1 to really step up as a leader and thwart any comeback efforts of LeBron James, who almost just had a triple-double in the losing effort. I mean,
even when they lose, he's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm sure, like you said, he ticked them off to lose. It really ticks you off when you go for almost a triple-double and you still don't win the game. Dwayne Wade played well. Yep. They got to get that third and fourth option, though, still to be able to beat the Pacers. And as good as Miami is, they don't want to go 0-2 down to this team because the Pacers play well on the road. They had key road wins when they were still trying to figure things out in the Washington series and the Atlanta series. Don't forget that Game 6 in Atlanta on the road when it looked like everything was all over and the world was crumbling in on them, and they came up with a big effort and pulled that out.
Right.
So, real battle of NBA elite here now that the Pacers are back and playing well. I hate to, I'm going almost against my own sayings here, and like you said in the opening montage back in October, but I did pick Miami to get to the finals, I believe, back then. I'm not going to change now. Very tough to pick the way Game 1 went, though, to pick them in 6. I don't see them. I think if it goes to 7 and it's at Indiana, though, I don't love the Heat, so I'm going to take them in 6. Wow. I mean, they got to win 4 of the next 5 games to do that. It's going to be real tough.
They can do it.
They're capable of doing it. It's a real test. The only reason I feel even more strongly about going to with Miami, and it sounds ridiculous, is because I think that rematch has to happen with the Spurs. I don't know why, but I feel like
like it's destiny,
like it's destined to happen, and the Spurs have to get have things be righted against the team. It's not that winning the title; they don't care who they win the title against. Let's be honest, but I think if they were able to win it against the Pacers, it would be a little different than getting the redemption of one they let get away last year against Miami. So I'll take the Heat in 6, but man, the Pacers are playing like they're back and they're playing well, and it's tough. But like I said, it doesn't hurt to go with the 2-time defending champs and with LeBron James. I mean, if you can't feel safe backing them, you're not going to feel safe backing anybody. So
that's true.
I'll take the Heat in this one. And I'll really take the Heat if they don't win. If they don't pull it out, I'll take the Heat from you there, partner. I was surprised. I mean, like you said, we've been critical of the Pacers. Zuki even picked against the Pacers in the last round, and he's back on them. That shows you how much this team has changed. And Zuki hit it right on the head when he talked about the Andrew Bynum nonsense and how that just seems to have just getting that out of the clubhouse, really, in the locker room has just been huge. I don't know if it really has anything to do with it, but just the fact that things have changed after that's happened is telling. And buyer beware for anybody going after Bynum in the next offseason.
Bro, Bynum proves the theory that one bad apple spoils the whole damn bunch, So, we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens with Indiana. I mean, I don't know what the heck happened with with the whole Bynum thing. Maybe we'll find out one day, but it happened overnight with Indiana.
Yeah.
It really happened overnight. They looked dead. It looked like they were lethargic. They looked dead to rights. And
you knew the talent was there.
Yeah, all of a sudden they became the world beaters once again. So unfortunately, we have to close up shop here.
Happy to complete another great podcast with my partner here.
Dude, the pleasure's all mine, bro. Beautiful.
Number 27.
Yeah.
But who's counting? I am. I count everyone.
That's right, man. That's right. They're like gold, man. All right, everybody. Well, thanks a lot for listening. I appreciate it.
Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend coming up. Don't
happy
forget
Memorial.
That.
That's right. So we might be a little preempted. Enjoy the NHL and NBA playoffs. And all right, that's it for us, man.
Good night, all.
All Noise Radio.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
The noise you can't ignore.